watching a talent like in their element and just loving it. I mean, there's like I'm talking about it and it's getting me goosebumps, right? Because it's just so exciting. It's thrilling. There's nothing like it, you know.
You're listening to the Voiceover Casting Corner podcast. VCC is brought to you by the Voicecaster, the country's first and oldest voiceover casting house established in 1975. The Voicecaster casts thousands of voices every year across all genres, and we're excited to give you an inside look at the casting process direct from our casting team.
Hey everyone, and welcome to Voiceover Casting Corner. My name is Kelly Mushinsky, and I'm the owner and head of casting here at the Voicecaster.
And I'm Kathryn. I'm the senior casting director here at the Voicecaster.
And we are so excited to have an amazing guest with us today. We have Ferenc Laczko. He is a talent agent and department director at SBV Talent Agency here in Los Angeles. So thank you so much for joining us today, Ferenc. We're so excited to have you.
Thank you so much for having me, Kelly and Kathryn. I'm super excited to be here. I'm amped up.
So let's just start off with a little bit of background. So how did you get into being an agent? Kind of where did you start? Is this something that you always knew you wanted to do, or did you kind of fall into it?
Absolutely. So I have a really fun coming up story, I think. I'm grew up in LA in the suburbs of Los Angeles, in a community called Arcadia. Beautiful community. Great place to grow up, but sort of in like the shadows of Hollywood. You know, it was there, but it wasn't. And so it always kind of piqued my interest, just being also first generation American, you know, and sort of media and television and movies. That was sort of the way I was able to, you know, bond with other people and get to know other people and just kind of be able to have like a common thread, right? Because growing up first generation, you know, you're always, you know, your parents aren't speaking the language sometimes, or, you know, like I always had this anxiety of people coming over to my house and it's smelling weird, you know, just because like they'd be making sort of like foods that weren't, you know, mac and cheese or whatever, right? And so entertainment was sort of like that bond, you know. So I always sort of had that sort of interest of Hollywood and things like that. And so I went to school up in Santa Barbara, UCSB, go Gauchos. Right before my senior year, I thought, all right, I know that like I had sort of an interest in law and becoming like a lawyer maybe, and I was sort of in that track, but I decided to intern at a production company the summer before my senior year, and I just totally got bit by the bug. It was just so exciting to see the movie process. This was a company that did a lot back in the day, direct to DVD movies, and they would release them internationally. So it was an interesting part of the business, but still just like so fascinated by the movie making process in the entertainment industry. So I was like, what's next? You know, and from there, I was really fortunate to get an internship at Fox 2000, which is the lit to film division at Fox Studios. And then if I wasn't already in love with the industry, like working, you know, not working, interning at the Fox lot was just even more. Like, you know, you would walk down New York Street and you'd see the people filming, you know, CSI or whatever show it was. And then you turn the corner and it was like another production. And so they had just done The Devil Wears Prada. I was interning on Marley and Me, which is like one of the saddest movies. I've only seen it once because it's so sad. I can't watch it. But
Made me
from
cry.
yes, absolutely. So from there, I was like, how does one become part of this magical industry, you know? And they're like, go work at a talent agency. That is sort of the nexus of the entertainment industry. It's sort of like the grad school, you would say. And so from there, of course, that was the first writer strike. So nothing was happening. Hollywood was at a total like standstill at that time. No one was hiring. William Morris was about to merge with Endeavor. You know, that whole thing was happening at the time. So I actually went down, and I'm half Peruvian. So I went down to Peru for a few months, interned down there. And then I started getting calls from different mailrooms and interviewing. And I eventually got hired at Abrams Artists in the mailroom at Abrams Artists Agency back in 2009. And it was absolutely what they said. It was the nexus of the industry. You know, you were in the mailroom, you were at the lowest level learning all the different sort of avenues of voiceover, on camera commercial, theatrical, all the different sort of pathways of our industry. And so I was really, in the mailroom, you kind of go from desk to desk and you kind of learn from different agents and different things. And voiceover was fascinating to me because the talent would come in. These were the times where we had lobbies with booths and it was very hands on. And you would see the talent come in, you'd be able to direct them in their auditions. My friends on the theatrical side, they were hooked up to a telephone all day, just rolling calls. And I was like, that doesn't really appeal to me. The hands-on nature, the variety of work, the cornucopia that is, almost everything needs a voice. So
Right.
it was dynamic and fascinating. And so from there, I was like, I want to be in the voiceover department, and I became an assistant. And that's probably where I first met you guys. I was the voiceover receptionist. I would be like, voiceover department, this is Ferenc, and that's how you start. You start literally at the low, and that's how this business works, right? If they don't trust you to make like photocopies correctly, I'm dating myself now. If you can't make Xerox copies, correctly, or if you can't answer the telephone correctly, how are they going to trust you for the next and the next task, and so on and so forth. So from Abrams, I went to another agency that was starting a voiceover department, and I thought there would be more opportunity there. They were just starting, and I made agent there pretty quickly, and I eventually took over that voiceover department, and that was an agency called Diverse Talent Group, and that was a one-man operation. So you were recording auditions, you were editing them, you were sending them off. It was all a one-man show for a few years there, and lots of late nights and lots of, this was me. I think Kelly and Kathryn, you might remember, like I would call in the mornings to see if anyone had dropped out, just to be like, can I get anybody in, because I knew that SBV, DPN, CESD, these shops were like well-oiled machines, and they were on top of it. They had the best talent, and here I was, kind of scrappy one-man kind of guy trying to get like just one. If I could just get one person in, that could change everything, right? One opportunity could just
Yeah.
change everything, right? And so that's what it was for many years. And then you sort of word gets out. People are like, what's going on with this agency, and this agent, and what's going on? And eventually I ended up getting hired at Independent Artists Agency, which was more of a celebrity boutique agency led by two amazing women, Laura Fogelman and Beverly Klein, and they were fantastic agents. I was there for about 3 years, and then SBV came, and been 12 years since. So it's been an absolutely amazing journey, and I'm so grateful and I'm so thankful for all of it. I don't think I would change anything about it because it was so sink or swim, like it was literally just you were thrown into it and you just had to figure it out, right? And it was just that I think that learning experience is invaluable, like just the problem solving and things like that. So that's sort of, and that's my story of just how I was able to navigate.
I love that. You've always had that hustle, and it's like that's incredible. And I mean, talent, like that's what you want in your reps. So it's like I remember at Diverse when you hustled, you worked for your talent. And obviously that's gotten you where you are. It's always so great to work with somebody who is working on behalf of their talent, not just sending the auditions and passing them on, but it's like you're one of the very few agents, I mean, I can count them on one hand, who reach out to me and will say like, hey, make sure you listen to this person, I think their audition was right on, or like, oh, this person had a really interesting take on this, or like still pitching talent even in a day where we're not really seeing pitches anymore. We're just getting thousands of auditions. So yeah, that's just on a personal thing, something that I love about you, Ferenc.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for saying that. But I also want to just acknowledge it's like it takes a village. It's such a community effort. It is, I would not be here without you guys. And I truly appreciate that. I mean, it is so much a collaboration, and it's
It
trust and
is.
all those things. So
Yeah.
it's a village. It takes a village.
Yep. Absolutely. That's what I'm always telling actors and stuff too, is like it is a collaborative process. You have to be willing to be part of a team. It's a much bigger thing than just you or just your agent doing the work for you, or it's like it's a team effort.
So everyone kind of knows the very basic thing that agents do. You're negotiating contracts and going through auditions and submitting people and pitching people. But what's something that people don't understand about what you do day to day?
One thing for sure is that we are your advocate. We are in there advocating for you. We're on the phone, talking to our casting friends, our producer friends. Even though you may not be seeing all of that behind the scenes action, it's happening. It's totally happening. And things are moving, albeit sometimes at a glacial pace. But they are, like we're constantly kind of behind the scenes trying to make these connections, play matchmaker, between the right talent and the right project, and advocating for you for making sure that you're paid properly. We do so much contracting on our side, with just making sure that the spot count's correct, the compensation is correct, the exclusivity is on the from that all the way to pitching you for the job and talking to the cast director at a dinner about you or anything like that, right? So it's sort of like a constant motion. So even though talent may not be feeling that, it is happening. It is something that's happening.
When you sign somebody, whether you're bringing on somebody new or even if it's somebody that you've been working with for a long time, what is one of your like moments of like, this is why I got into this? Do you see things that happen? And it could be with a talent, it could be also working with casting or production, like what is something where you're like, yeah, this is why I love what I do?
Well, I think I love the aspect of being able to work on something that's enjoyed by so many, on like for the animation side, working on a really big, animated series that I watched religiously in college and was just such a huge fan of and thought was so funny. And then I remember on my birthday getting the call that we booked someone on that animated series, and I just remember being like just elated. I just could not believe. I almost wanted to travel back in time to that Ferenc in college that was watching that and be like, you're going to be part of this. Like, you're going to be helping this, albeit a very tiny part of it, but you are going to be a part of this and something that's enjoyed by so many people. And one of our clients, the great Rob Paulson, he likes to say, laughter's the best medicine, right? So I'm a firm believer of that too, right? And so if like something that I worked on, whether it's animated or a commercial or anything that can give someone a smile, that like lifts their day, that's awesome. Like that's like invaluable. And I love that element of it. I will say I also just love seeing talent like in their element, doing their thing, doing what they love to do, whether it's Broadway, whether it's in the booth, in a commercial or an animated series, or like on set, a live action show or whatnot. Being watching a talent like in their in their element and just loving it. I mean, there's like I'm talking about it and it's getting me goosebumps, right? Because it's just so exciting. It's thrilling. There's nothing like it, so I think those are the two touchstones. I think I kind of gravitate towards, is just that's what feels so fulfilling.
So that's definitely a plus of working as an agent. What's something that's a little less glamorous? What do other people not quite know that's not so much fun
Ooh,
about
healthy boundaries, I mean, what are those, right?
it, right?
I think
Those.
everyone is, especially COVID kind of made it so that we could work hybrid, right? And we could work everywhere. But it also made it so that, like, for example, SBV, we don't have an East Coast office. So a lot of the New York or London situations, offices. So, you're basically waking up to a whole set of emails right away, just right away. And then it doesn't stop until late at night, right? And so that is just sort of the new post-COVID voiceover world. And I mean, listen, I'm thankful that those emails are coming in because some of them are great opportunities and we're here for it. So I don't want to ever put that down, but the boundaries, right? Like just think about, your agents had maybe like, it's Friday, 6 o'clock. They're probably pouring their favorite glass of wine or their drink or something of choice. I don't know if sending a text like at that time being like, man, I'm so bummed we didn't get XYZ or something, like that sort of thing. Not sure that is productive. You want to keep, you want to be collaborative. You want to nurture the relationship with your agent. And I think part of that is just acknowledging that they are a person too. And they have they want to be there for you. Obviously, I want to be there for you, but we also need time. We need our boundaries as well. Right. So that's my ongoing, I'm always like, and I would love to know what you guys think about that too. Like, because I get it. Like, it's so awesome that we don't have to be in an office like 9 to 6. Like, how, like, we used to have to wear suits, like the dry cleaning. Yeah. I mean, just like, that's where I'm always like, what are we doing about boundaries?
And there aren't any anymore. It's like I will get texts from clients at midnight, and it's like, whoa. At that time, I probably type out the response. I'm like, Kelly, don't send that until the morning. Like, there's gotta be something, and it's
Yes.
like, but I do, it's like I'll go work out at 6 a.m. and even before that at 5:30, I'm looking at my email because I'm like, okay, well, it's 8:30 East Coast. So if there's anything that I need to respond to, I can respond to now. But I don't always respond to them at 8:30 their time. So it's also, it is tricky. It used to just be like they would call the office, they would get our hours are 9:30 to 6:30, which we've also changed since then. We're now 8:30 to 5:30, but the day doesn't end at 5:30, It's
Oh.
like I work well into the evening. It's all over the place now. Like, and for everybody, sometimes it's like I'll email an East Coast client at 6 p.m., just as like a final wrap up for the day, or, with a question I'll expect an answer in the morning or whatever, and they'll respond 2 hours later. And I'm like, what are you doing? It's like 11 o'clock your time. Like, ignore me. So I actually, in some of my emails, I'll even put like, ignore me until tomorrow. And then I'll ask my questions on the project because I'm also trying to respect other people's boundaries. But man, sometimes the rush projects and stuff, it's like I'm sending them out
There's
at
no.
9 p.m. and I need them by 11 a.m. and I'm like, oh,
And that's
yeah,
just how it is now. And
it
that's just
is.
the game. That's just how it's evolved. So
Yeah.
yeah, you're here for it because again, we have that flexibility now, right? But at the same
Hmm.
time, it's like you want to preserve your peace. And then
Yep.
one other thing I'll say too is because we're talking about AOL and AIM and the internet fun days of dial-up when people treat emails like AIM, instant messenger, where it's
Yes.
like it's an email, it's not, a text, it's not a call. I mean, like those are urgent, right? Like those are on the hierarchy, like calling, texting, those are, alert,
Yep.
right? Email is like you can't treat email like AIM, right? Or instant
Yeah.
messenger, like where it's like I just don't think that that's like a product, especially with how many emails that I'm sure you guys also receive. Just, I mean, we're triaging our inbox every day, right? We're going through it. We're like, okay,
Yep.
what has to be right away? What do we got to work on right now? Okay, what can wait? What can, right? It's like a whole operation, right? Don't treat
Yeah.
emails like AIM.
Yep. Yep. And sometimes it takes 20 minutes to triage your emails where it's like, okay, I got to figure out what to even work on right now. But first, I have to spend 20 minutes to figure out what needs to happen right now. It's like,
Totally. Let me figure out the game plan.
yep. Because of the craziness that is our voiceover world now, what do you do to either try to find some balance or to recharge? So when you do set those boundaries and you're like, I'm not looking at emails, whether it's for 2 hours or 2 days, a weekend, what do you do to
What do
kind of
you
keep yourself
think?
going to not burn out?
Right.
Yes, yeah, for sure. Because burnout is a thing. Burnout is
Mhm.
100%. It's real, and you want to definitely maintain a healthy outlook on this. You don't want to become jaded. You don't. I mean, you want to be a joyful warrior, right? Like you don't
Mhm.
like nobody wants to work with the negative Nancy. Nobody like that's just nobody has like nobody has time for that. Nobody wants that attitude at them. It's like, we're all, listen, we know it's hard. We know it's tough. So it's like on some level, we tell the talent, like, you got to put everything into this. You got to do it, put your heart and soul and everything like that. And then at the same time, we'd be like, don't take it personally, though, when you don't get the job, right? It's like, how can you not, right? It's like, and agents feel that too. Like, we feel that. I know that we're going through that. So preserving your peace is important. And for me, it's like traveling. I love to travel. I love going down and visiting my family in Peru because it's like up here in the States, we're a smaller nucleus, but down there, it's like my big fat Greek wedding almost. Like, it's just fun and they're loud and they love singing karaoke. And it's just like a great time. Plus, Peruvian food is super good. I don't know if you guys have had it. It's amazing. We got to go sometime. But I love to travel. I also have an adorable, I will say, I have an adorable French bulldog named Cooper. And we love going to the dog park. We like hiking. He knows when I'm stressed out before I even know it. That's the incredible thing about animals, right? Is just like, you need a timeout. Like, we're gonna go take a walk now. Like, it's like he knows, he's kind of like my Sherpa in that way. So yeah, traveling, going to the dog park with the dog, things like that. Just kind of like slowing down a little bit, right? Because it's so hyperactive, it's so quick, everything moves so fast that it's just nice to just sort of let that side of your brain just take a break and just like listen to music, read a night. I have a real aversion to anything that's like too Hollywood, because it's just like, why would I want to re-traumatize my day with watching something that I've experienced, Game of Thrones or something that's going to take you out, give your brain a little break.
And it really is the little things. If I even have 10 minutes to read or to just like, I don't know, sit outside and just like get some fresh air and not look at my
Yes.
phone. It's like those are the golden moments that help me get through the
Get
rest of
through
the
it.
day.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, for sure.
What makes a talent stand out to you when you're considering a new signing?
I like to look at the talent's like career, like on a holistic kind of level. I like to think that we represent like the actor and not the voice. And so obviously you have, it's voice acting, so you have to be able to know how to use your instrument and how to act with your voice. That's critical. And self-direction, I would say, is now even more imperative. That wasn't like 10 years ago, that was not really a thing, right? Now, because of the way that things have evolved, having to self direct is a critical component to success. So I look at any talent like through the lens of just, do they have the foundations of working in the industry? Do they have any ongoing accounts, or do they have any ongoing spots or any current work that's out there? Have they trained? What's their training like? Who have they studied with, right? Training is so imperative. You're learning proper technique, learning the foundation. That is so critical. Like, no matter where you go in this industry, like, that is the baseline, right? You have to have solid foundation of technique and training and education. So those are kind of important components. Having, chemistry, that's a great thing too. At SBV, we are very selective on who we bring on. We are very fortunate that we get to pick, because we are a voiceover commercial talent agency. We do have branding as well. The leader of our agency, Rita Venari, she's the owner and the president, amazing person. And she's really instilled in us this thing about talent first and having that integrity and working for our clients. So knowing that we're going to have that chemistry and that trust, I mean, it's something that to build on, obviously, but those are sort of the factors I look for initially. Referrals are always great too. If a casting director is referring somebody or a producer is referring somebody, that's always like, what? Just because, again, I trust so much my colleagues in the industry. They have an incredible, we've been doing this now. Our ears are really hyper developed, right? Like, we've had the experience of listening. I would say experience, right? Of listening to probably hundreds and millions of hours of auditions. And so our ears are sort of like, we're fine tuned in that way, right? To listen, to be like, I hear something. I hear a possibility here, or I'm really interested, and so that's sort of how I guess the conversation goes with talent. Yeah, with any new talent, it's kind of like you kind of look at eagle eye kind of perspective on their career, and then you get into specifically the voiceover side of things.
Awesome. Do you take newer talent on and help develop them, or does SBV tend to take on talent who do have credits or more of a resume?
I would say we are definitely more of that established, just because of the opportunities that we receive and things like that. We are of that ilk. However, we absolutely have developed talent through the years. Some of them have gone on, to do some amazing things. One person won the Emmy this year, someone that we developed. So it does happen. I love doing it. I mean, that's one of the most fulfilling parts of our job is seeing someone go from, the very beginning of their career to having consistent work and booking, these fabulous, awesome projects and watching their careers take off. I mean, that is truly one of the most fulfilling things as an agent. I don't know that there's anything more fulfilling sometimes, right? I'd say we do develop talent, but primarily we are much more focused on our roster and on the established talent area.
What about things like demos and social media? How important is a demo? What are you looking for with a demo? And same thing with social media. Do you need them to have a presence there?
Social media is a funny thing, right? Here's the other fun thing about voiceover is there's always a gray zone, right? It's always like what's right for someone is not right at all for someone else, right? So it's sort of a gray zone. So I would say if you are an influencer, and this is your bread and butter, then yes, you have to have like amazing social media, right? Because that's what you're doing. That's what you're focused on, right? That's your entry point. So yes, when it comes to commercial voiceover specifically, social media doesn't really factor in as much, other than you don't want to post anything that would be deemed, too offensive. If you're up for a big, like, let's say Burger King, you're up for a big Burger King and your Instagram is like McDonald's this, McDonald's that, McDonald's that, McDonald's that. You may want to scrub that, like you may want to hide those posts, real fast, right? Because you never know if they're actually gonna, if some producer is gonna snoop on there and look, right? I think it happens more on the animation side, truthfully, more than anything. I don't think, especially in scale commercial, it's just everything moves so quickly. I don't think that social media factors in as much, other than you just want to remain neutral, right? You just want to be like Switzerland, right? And just kind of be like, I'm an open book. If Taco Bell wants to come hire me and do some spots, I'm here. If McDonald's wants, obviously not, at the same time, because that would be a conflict. If after, you do a McDonald's spot and the, contract's up and they're not renewing and all that, and Taco Bell wants to come and work with you, great. They don't need to know about the other stuff too. So yeah, you kind of want to be Switzerland about it. With demos, I would say I think they mattered a lot more, maybe 10 years ago. It helps to get an agent. And I think it also helps in certain scenarios where like there's not enough time in the day. So we are sending your demo, right? Or if we're pitching to a casting director, we are sending your commercial demo as supplemental materials so that they can hear, a little bit of you, even if they just listen to the first like 5-10 seconds, right? You want to have great materials. You don't want to have like a subpar demo out there representing you, right? I mean, you want to make a good first impression, right? So having a commercial demo, if it has to be like of quality, right? It just has to really showcase you. Most of the time, you're going to be reading the producers, the casting directors, the clients. They want to hear your voice on their words. So you're going to be reading for it more than likely than not.
As actors are submitting to you, what are you expecting to see in that email? Or, how do you take submissions? What are you
Right.
looking for? What stands out to you? What makes you actually want to listen to their demo?
So definitely keeping it brief and short. We get hundreds of emails. The other day I got one. The email started with hey Ferenc, you may want to brew up a cup of coffee and get comfortable because here we go. Here's my whole backstory, and it was like a dissertation, and I was just like, I am so sorry. I do not have time to go. Any agent is going to prioritize their own roster, their own talent first, right? So if you're sending a dissertation or if you're sending something Friday at 6 p.m., that is, or on a weekend, I mean, that's just not, no agent's going to be looking at that. I hate to tell you. So referrals. I mean, referrals are a fantastic way, I think, to get any agent's attention, and just short and sweet. Attaching the demo. I mean, I'd say these days you should be have like proper email etiquette. Don't send a 20 megabyte file because that often, first of all, sometimes our server rejects it, right? So it won't even get to us, right? But then on top of it, it's this massive file. It's like it's not. Sometimes the computer can't, whatever, right? And so just be conscious of that kind of stuff. Keep it short, keep it brief. If there's any talent that is referring you, also, that's another sort of perks the interest there too. But it's, I think having a referral is definitely the surefire way to get attention through any agent.
And I'm curious, how much of the demo do you listen to? I say all the time on casting, it's like, I need 3 to 5 seconds to know if you're right for this. Now, looking for, when you're listening for potential new talent, is it 5 seconds and you're like, if you hear the potential or not and move on? Or do you actually listen to the whole thing?
First of all, audio quality, right? Like if I get a demo that has that feedback noise, like you double click on it and it's like, burning, it's like, you're like, oh my goodness, what are we in store for here? That's a big, like, audio quality, especially in the scale commercial world. It's different on the celebrity level when they're asking for you and you're on set and you have to record in your trailer under the pillow for it. That's a whole other ball game, right? Scale commercial, there is just no time, right? So I have to be engaged in the first 10 seconds. I'm not hearing it. I'm not engaging with what you're doing. I'm not probably going to listen to further on. If there's potential, if I hear, or if there's sort of like a disclaimer, right? Like, hey, I'm going to be making a new demo or something like that. Because people make fantastic demos these days too. And you have to be able to replicate that, right? And sometimes I've had that experience where people have not been able to replicate what they do on their demos. And that's a whole other, I don't know that anybody wants to go there, right? That's not, you want to accurately represent yourself. So I think that's critical too. So it has to be engaging. It has to be dynamic. I will say also, I am such a voiceover, specifically commercial, nerd, and I'm listening constantly to all the spots and everything. And so, for example, if I hear back in the day, if I had heard Mercedes Benz, if I hear a Mercedes Benz spot, it was John Hamm. It was John Hamm for many years. And so then I go, well, is this a real spot? Not every demo has to have real spots. Sometimes real spots don't even sound great, Something like that, that's like so iconic. You're like, wait a minute. That's like, or if, back in the day, like Lexus, Maurice LaMarche, right? Like you would be like, that's not you. Now you're doing like a funny imitation of that. Like, what's going on, right? And then you're distracted. You're not thinking about it. You lost us, right?
Same thing with me and Kaiser Permanente and Allison Janney. Like once in a while, I hear a Kaiser spot, and I'm like, oh, okay. I would avoid.
You're like,
it.
You're not Allison Janney.
But yeah, we had that happen once where we were casting based off of demos, and client booked somebody. They did the session, and the client was like, what we're going for is the first spot on your demo, and they couldn't do it. The first spot on their demo, and they didn't even sound like it. The client was like, do you have a cold today? Like you sound like higher pitch and a little more nasally. And the talent's like, no. I'm like,
oh, no.
What did you do on your demo then? Clearly it was manipulated,
right.
And it's like, you cannot do that.
No, please, 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 please don't do that. Be authentic, be real, be yourself, right? Yeah. That's always going to be, that's your secret sauce, right? That is like, no one can take that away from you. What makes you Kelly, what makes you Kathryn, what makes me Ferenc, no one can replicate that, right? That's our special, that's like our, our seasoning, right? So you just can't take that away from us. And that's our superpower.
So we've kind of gone over why you bring on talent. Are there any reasons why you would drop talent?
Give us the dirt.
Yes, I know, right? What's the tea? What's the tea? If you ghost us, like if you're just like not turning in, I know that's unreal to think about. And for people listening out there, it's like, what? People, yes. If you ghost us, if you're not communicating with us, if it feels like you're over communicating with your agent, you're probably communicating just right, because and it should be value added, communication, right? It shouldn't be like, hey, what's up? What are you doing on Friday? It's like I just did this great workshop with Kelly and Kathryn. They had such great feedback. They said XYZ, and I just thought this was so beneficial. And, that's the kind of updates I'm looking for, right? So if you ghost us, we've kind of come back and around from a little bit of the COVID sort of ways of just a lot of people, I think, got a lot of regional agents and that whole sort of system. And I think now people are starting kind of distilling it down to just having, a New York, LA, Chicago. I mean, there's definitely value in some of the other markets, Seattle and Denver and Atlanta, just to name a few. But I will say communication, that's definitely one of the ones, just because you haven't booked in like 3, 6 months, like, trust me, we know. We are aware, we're aware. That doesn't mean you're going to get dropped. If you're communicating with us, if you're telling, if we know what's going on, there's always, again, it's a gray zone. But I will say ghosting is definitely one of the surefire ways that, it's a no-go, right? It's a relationship, right? It's a collaboration. You want to nurture that, right?
Absolutely. So, what are some habits or traits that you see with your most successful talent? What are some things that they're doing that are working for them?
So, in today's crazy, just fast turnarounds, you have to be able to pivot, right? You have to be able to put yourself in a position to say yes and be professional. That's also a huge part of this is, come to the, again, joyful warrior, right? That's the ethos. Yeah.
Professionalism and collaboration. I mean, that's
Collaborating, yeah.
like
Being
Yes.
available? Yeah.
Being available,
absolutely
put
being
yourself in a
available.
position to say
Yeah.
yes. For example,
Perfect.
maybe if you're flying back to New York, right? And you're auditioning consistently, I know that we try, and I know you guys also, we all try very hard to put the dates on the copy of when this commercial can record. But guess what? Those are always changing. Something can always change. And so if you have plans to fly back to New York, maybe take the red eye, right? Don't take the flight in the middle of the day because inevitably that's when the avail check will come in that morning. And then
Yes.
they will want to record at noon that day because that's how quickly things move now. Promo used to take the lead for fastest, turnaround times. I think commercial is just like a half second behind them now, with our turnarounds and how quickly things move. So, pivoting, put yourself in a position to say yes. You want to build that trust with your agent, and therefore the trust, it's sort of like it transfers over, right? Casting, you guys trust us, we trust our talent, right? And so again, it's a village, it's a whole ecosystem. If you're consistently reading for commercials, put yourself in a position to say yes. Make it easy. Make it work, right? Because the other thing too is for anyone to book a job these days, it almost feels like the stars have to align, right? Like the planets have to align.
Yep.
And you don't want to go through that. The minute your MP3 leaves your inbox, there's a whole process that's happening, right? Your file's being sent to the agency. We are listening to it for quality control and editing, making sure that it's labeled properly, making sure the audio quality is up to standards, right? I never want anything coming out of my office that isn't the best sounding, right? Because that is your first impression, that is your handshake, right? So all of those factors, right? And then you guys take it on your level. You guys might even edit it, switch the takes around or something on that level, right? Or what, and then your process, right? And then they take it to the agency, right? And it has to go through the producer. It has to go through the client, meaning their client, the Taco Bell client or the McDonald's client, right? And then it has to go back down all those chain of commands and then to you. And then if you're like, oh, hey, I'm at LAX about to board a flight, you're like, wow, okay, like Well, obviously family and health are critical and number one always, right? We're not saying that, but if you're routinely going up and out for commercials, know that there's a rhythm to it and know that you have to pivot and there's lots of disruption and there's lots of just last minute changes that you and like we don't have control over, you guys don't have control over. It's coming from the top, it's coming from the chain of command. The CMO is not available that day to record and he wants to be or she wants to be in the session. You have to move, right? Like they're not going to record if the CMO is not in the session.
Yeah, it goes back to what you were saying about communication and being transparent. And if you're gonna be out of town, you need to let your reps know so they know to pass that along. And
Book
so it's not a
out,
surprise.
book out.
Yeah, exactly.
Book a trip and you'll book a job. That's
That
how it
too.
works.
That too. That just literally happened this week. Book a trip, book a job. It has to be a non-refundable ticket. That's important, right? Can't be refundable. And the further away it is, the better the job will be. This one was Australia. So it was actually pretty good. But if you're just going to Palm Springs, but if you're crossing an ocean, it might be a campaign.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, be willing to fit the bill for a studio then too.
Yes, yeah,
recorded
absolutely.
in Australia.
Or bring your equipment with you, right? Like you have to be able to bring your, and that's just modern voiceover, right? Like that's just what
it is.
That's just what it is today.
Is there any sort of common mistake that you see actors make outside of, communication? Is there anything else that you see actors doing that could be costing them either getting signed with an agent or costing them bookings?
This whole idea of like agenting your agent, that whole concept that kind of is out there. I know that my colleagues that do this as well at DPN and CESD and Vox and Atlas, they are super smart, brilliant people. Like they are truly some of the most like not only funny, but they are super smart, super articulate, really care about their jobs, really care about talent too. And there needs to be trust, right? You have to trust your agent. And if that trust isn't there, it's really hard relationship to navigate. It's really tough. And specifically, like if you feel like you need to advocate for yourself, which is always, I guess you can always advocate for yourself. There's nothing wrong with that. But it's when there's just a lack of trust between what the agent is doing on your behalf and navigating and being your advocate, that I think it gets a little dicey there, and that it's like we need to be able to do our jobs as agents, right? We need to be able to advocate for you and do our do what we do as agents and negotiate your deals and procure work for you and all those and listen, we're open, we're collaborative. Like that's I think the thing about modern voiceover representation, right? It's not like me agent, you talent, right? It's not that at all. It's one of our agents here, Mary Ellen Lord, she always says, 90% of it is going to the talent, 10% is just the agent, right? So that factor also, kind of take into consideration about the relationship, but you want to nurture the relationship with your agent, right? You want to be a team. It's a collaboration. It's not this like sort of stagnant, very structured, rigid kind of thing.
Do you have any words of advice to somebody who's just starting out in voiceover?
Without a doubt, training, and education is critical. That's the bedrock of all of this, and it will never fault you. And it's something that is in your control. Like you can control all of that. There are some things in this industry that are out of your control, but education and betting on yourself, right? That is totally in your control and doesn't hurt. Obviously, you don't want to be a professional like student. You want to. The goal is to be an actor that does wonderful voice work as well and has, success in voiceover, there's always something to learn. There's always just whether it's like a one-on-one or with a group setting, there's just always something that you pick up on, and maybe you heard it once before, it didn't really click, but now that you've had a little more experience out there, it's suddenly, it is, like the hurry up and wait, right? That's one of the big ones. Everything is like, we need this now. We need this now. Immediately, it was due 10 minutes ago, right? It's like that quick, right? And then it's like, we're not going to hear back for 4 days, right? Or 5, or we don't hear back for 2 weeks, or whatever it is, right? And that's the hurry up and wait. And that's a very unique part of, I think, our industry. And that's just what happens, right? That is part of this, and that's something you learn, I think, through workshops and things like that. And the other thing I'll say also is find your community, find your people, find your tribe. Voiceover, I think another reason why I love it so much is that the people, the community, it is so different than theatrical, than even the on-camera commercial world, right? We are our own thing. And there's just so many, I don't know any other industry where like people will go into sessions or casting sessions and they'll be like, yeah, who you should bring in for this actually is so and so. Like I don't like that's just how just the industry is. That these are very generous, nice, kind people. And so networking and going out there, I know it's scary to network. I know it is. But everyone's afraid, right? Everyone's in the same boat. They're like, oh gosh, I hope I don't say something weird, or I hope I don't, everyone's like in the same boat as you. So just jump in, jump in the water. It's totally fine. You'll be fine. And just get to know some people and just start meeting your tribe and meeting your group. And I think community is a really important part of voiceover too.
And that'll keep you sane during the quiet times and during the chaos. It's like, yeah, community is so important because again, it's that collaboration. All right, should we do our lightning round?
Oh yeah.
All right.
Kathryn, you want to do the questions on this one?
What do you prefer, coffee or tea during the long days?
Iced coffee.
What about your favorite color?
I like blue. Blue is a good color.
Favorite sound or voice type to hear in auditions?
Okay, favorite sound in general, I will say, if I can generalize a little bit more, is, I don't do it anymore, but back in the day when you went to the theater and that THX, I know that's nothing related to voiceover at all, but that is truly one of my, that, that,
right?
Yeah.
That was awesome. That's a fun sound. That has nothing to do with voiceover though.
You did that pretty well though.
I gravitate towards like texture and deeper voices, but that's really not to say that, sometimes there's really funny auditions that come through that are brilliant, so, I guess it's a little bit over the way. That's not a lightning round answer. Sorry.
That's right.
I butchered that. Yeah.
What's the most unexpected project you've ever had come across your desk?
There's been a lot of, inanimate objects that have been voiced. I'd say for The Boys, there was an animated role that it was like a Chuck E. Cheese, but very twisted and demented. If you guys are fans of The Boys, it was in season 3, I think. It was black noir, dark, evil, sort of traumatizing Chuck E. Cheese character. But it was awesome, and I loved it. It was really exciting.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that was a fun one.
Is there a dream brand or campaign you'd love to book a talent on?
I'm going to sound so boring.
Or do you have one that you have booked talent on?
I feel so fortunate that we have worked on so many amazing accounts and campaigns. And, I'm just grateful for that element of it. I don't know that there's any specific brand or anything out there that we haven't touched on. But as a car guy, I will say I lean more towards like the car accounts because I'm a gearhead. I love cars. Ford, Dodge, Toyota, Lexus, those have all been really fun to work on. I'm like always like watching car videos and just, I love it, so that's I think one of my fun areas, I guess.
What's one word that describes the current state of the VO industry?
Disruption.
That's good.
Yeah.
The future of voiceover is blank.
Is you. It's you. It's
I
everyone
love
out there. It's
that.
us. It's you. It's all of us. Like we are, I was thinking about this the other day too. Voicecaster, 50 years. SBV next year will be 50 years. I mean, I don't know anything that lasts that long anymore, ever,
Right.
and that's incredible. There's still so much to do. There's so much out there.
Mhm.
Like we said, there's a lot of disruption, a lot of changes, AI. It's evolving, but it's still really exciting. It's still a
Mhm.
fascinating, interesting, dynamic part of the industry. It's so unique. Again, like it's its own lane and its own community, and it really is about you. It's the people that make it up, right? It's the people that make up this industry. So, absolutely, it's about you guys. It's you.
I love that. That is a perfect way to end our episode today. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for the collaboration of being here and just all of the words of wisdom and nuggets that you passed along to everybody. That's huge for everyone who's listening. So thank you so much, Ferenc.
Of course. Thank you both. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you,
This was
Kathryn.
a good
Thanks
conversation.
everyone out there. I really just, again, it's just, I can't express like just how grateful, it really is. Like the highs are really high and the lows can be really low sometimes, right? But
Mhm.
knowing that we have each other kind of makes like the lows, we can get through it, right? Like we can get
It's
through
a
this
team
together.
effort.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Yep.
exactly. Right.
Definitely.
So
Yep.
just again, I really
Yeah.
just thank you guys so much for everything. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Of course, check out our website, voicecaster.com and voicecasterlab.com. Subscribe to our podcast, and we will catch you on the next one.
Catch a new VoiceOver Casting Corner episode every second and fourth Tuesday of the month. Be sure to give a thumbs up, subscribe, and follow us at The Voicecaster on social media. Thanks for listening.